Fire away.
Let's get started then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, guys, here we go. This is kind of an interesting situation because we have some driver issues with my own speakers, but we love technology, so we're going to keep rolling. One of the reasons why both Jim Frankel and Deborah Ray love to I've been very good at raising and also spearheading a popular music program. Popular music has been quite a bit of press as of recent, and so I'm going to explain how we're doing it at Huntington Beach High School. And you'll notice on the corner I'm also an Apple Distinguished Educator. I'm proud about that. This year they will be having more openings for Apple Distinguished Educators. It's something, if you're interested in presenting, you might want to think about that. So let's get started with about how a popular music program can save your job. I teach at Huntington Beach High School. And Huntington Beach is a very old school, but it's been totally renovated. If you'll notice on the right-hand side, we've got a wonderful auditorium that sits next to this tower. You'll also notice next to the tower, you will see a little amphitheater area where we can do live shows. And the reason why I talk about live shows in auditoriums is one of the reasons I've been able to gain a lot of success in this program is teach performing skills. So I've managed to blend a lot of academics, technical skills, and performing into a program. On the left-hand side, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, you'll see what is our TV area. It's on the building to your left. Now, my program's name is Music, Media, and Entertainment Technology, and we are part of a performing arts high school. So we have a traditional high school, which is Huntington Beach High School, with sports programs and all of that, and we are a district magnet program where there's all of the students from our district who come to our academy classes, and they'll come after school. There's also, the way we fund this program is we have voluntary, and that's the huge word to say, voluntary family pledges. So that's Huntington Beach Academy.
Jamie, try and speak up if you can. It's very hard to hear you.
Oh, sure.
It's very, very soft, so please speak up.
Okay, so can you hear me better now?
Yes, please speak up if you can. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, I'm trying to juggle one cell phone in one hand and this so that I can hear you. Okay, so again, one of the reasons I show this slide is that MET stands for Music, Media, and Entertainment Technology, and there are actually 3 funding sources that make this possible. And can you guys hear me as far as audio? It's not breaking up or anything?
I can hear you fine, yeah. That's no problem.
Okay, so the HBHS part is the high school funds several of my classes, and the Academy for the Performing Arts funds several classes, and then this thing called Coastline ROP also funds our classes. And by juggling 3 different funding sources, we're able to have 2 full-time teachers here doing technology and as well as video production. Now, we were recently this year listed as an AppleExemplary Program. And the reason behind this is John Couch, Apple's vice president, said, in the center, I was especially impressed with the collaborative approach between the music and video instructors. What we found is that every school is interested in video. Administrators love video. They can communicate. But when it comes to music technology, a lot of people kind of go, well, we'd like to have that, but it's not an essential. Well, we found that the kind of student that's interested in music technology often is also very interested in video. And we've also found that if you are doing video, especially at the high school level, that most kids should learn some kind of sound technology. So what we did was we combined the resources of both the video department and the audio, or the music tech department, and we created this incredible lab space that has a television studio, a computer lab, and a guitar lab. So why pop music? Because it's kind of it's a newer issue. Most schools have the traditional band and choir. We are totally different. We do have a traditional orchestra. We have a musical theater that handles our choral, but there's my program, which kind of sits right in between. So Intune magazine, about a year ago, listed one of the hottest trends in music education is in contemporary music. And I've been plugging away at this for the last 7 years, tirelessly talking to people about putting pop and rock into the curriculum, and it's starting to resonate finally. Television shows like Glee have made a lot of popularity for this kind of style, although Glee is different than our program because that's more like Midwest show choirs, where our program is really designed around indie rock, musical compositions that the kids create, as well as classic rock. So again, why pop music? I found that fewer than 10%, and actually this statistics come from Deborah over at Foundry, fewer than 10% of all the students nationwide use it. Guitars, drums, keyboards, more than 85% of all the instrument sales. If you go to NAMM and you're walking down the booths, you'll see 5 billion guitar things, and unfortunately they're not presented at most of the schools. Guitar is the most popular instrument, but only about 10% of the public schools have guitar programs, and then less than 7% of all recorded sales are classical, world music, and jazz combined. Now, this is one thing that I really, really stress. Pop music is not a replacement for traditional music. I love the traditional orchestra, the band. I would hate to go to a football game and not see the marching band. I would really miss drumline competitions. We are strictly an enhancement, not a replacement. Our programs really appeal to an extremely diverse student population, and it's very popular with the parents. What I found is that we can pack crowds, and our rock concerts basically will have about 1,800 people will go through 3 nights of performances, which allow us to raise money for the program. Also, popular music programs really serve as a pathway to further music education. I'm really pleased that the last issue of MENC's Teaching Music, where the article was called A Whole Lot of Learning Going On, there was a whole section devoted to music education goes pop. And I guess this summer, June 25th and 26th, and I wasn't invited, I guess that's because I'm not at the college level, but I was really proud to see that Berklee College of Music was there, University of Miami, USC, that would be Chris Sampson, who is a personal friend, Belmont University, and then a representative from Paul Green School of Rock. This same conference is going to continue next year, and I'm going to try to get involved with that. Currently, I'm working with Chris Sampson quite a bit because he has one of the first universities that really features popular music in the curriculum, and his kids are amazing. It's a great group of students. One thing I noticed on here that wasn't mentioned, a lot of artists now are starting to get on board with college and popular music. Todd Rundgren is at the University of Indiana. USC has Steve Miller on board as faculty, as well as the musical director of the Eagles. The group Flaming Lips is at the University of Nebraska, so the movement is really starting to grow. And once the colleges give us legitimacy at the high school level, curriculum will be developed that is really solid, that any band director, choir director can use. Now, another thing that popular music offers is an easy entry into the broader cultural and societal issues. That also came from this article, and I've been doing this all along. When we talk about music history, we talk about the blues, we talk about social issues. When we talk about rock and roll, we also start talking about how media has evolved. We tie that in, and this is going to become extremely crucial for your funding. And again, this is why I'm saying how popular music affects jobs. There's this new movement underway called the Common Core Standard. It's being spearheaded by Bill Daggett, who's instrumental in education reform. It's also with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what they're pushing for in the arts is what's called arts integration, where you teach core subject curriculum through the arts. And so we're already partnering with several teachers to make this happen. We're working with our English department in the broadcast journalism, and I'm also starting collaboration with the history department. Moving right along. My slides aren't working. Why is this? I just had a computer freeze. This is great. Okay, moving along. Hopefully this will work. So, typical student that we have in popular music programs, Austin Myers, when he came to me, he had grown up with Jack Black and School of Rock, loved playing the guitar, and just lives, eats, breathes music, but he wouldn't have a spot in a traditional music program because he wasn't interested at that time in jazz, and he just wanted to play rock and roll. Well, guess what? After in his third year with me, all of a sudden he's mastered all of the rock and roll stuff, and he's looking at expanding his horizons. So he's enrolled in jazz as well as classical guitar, and he's hoping to go listed on the screen. Again, this one I think for some of you guys that are like jazz band teachers will find this amusing. I pulled this up from an old jazz book on jazz history, 1977, and the guy was Study of Jazz, Paul Tanner. In the case of many school administrators, their lack of enthusiasm for jazz reflects their lack of understanding of this type of music. He was building the case for jazz in the curriculum, and now it's hard for us to imagine a world without jazz bands in high schools. I think the same thing is going to happen with popular music. So, in a nutshell, I think that we need to broaden the school music curriculum in most high schools to include popular music, and that's just the first step. If you want to go the route that we're going, you add the media, and now you are sharing resources and have a tremendous amount of power at your disposal when you can teach both video as well as audio. So, types of students. Some people, I've known some traditional band directors that said, I don't want those kind of kids. But in reality, this is an example of some of my kids there. Some of the students that are in this picture are in the traditional marching band. The majority of them aren't. The majority of these kids wouldn't be in a music program if it wasn't for our program. Now, there's some examples of some students that are in some of our shows. You'll notice that the larger picture that you've got a lead vocalist up front. You've got a piano player that's classically trained, but he loves playing rock and roll. Girls that could have been in a choir, but instead they're totally enjoying being background singers. And then we've got the obvious two guitars, bass guitar, and then live drum set in the background. So technology. Let's talk a little bit about this. Originally, before I started this music program, I owned and commissioned a loud music program because I started raising money for my books by doing a Battle of the Bands, and we would rehearse in the library after school. In 2004, when Apple came out with GarageBand, all of a sudden it was one of those aha moments. I realized that for free, I could teach digital audio. This was something that for some of you guys that are veterans know that it was a $900 proposition for free years back. So I started teaching GarageBand at that point in 2004. And the main thing to keep in mind is that every single kid who buys a computer that's a Mac has a recording studio and a video studio in their laptop. The big words for Apple that they use, and if you guys are trying to build support for your program, these slides will be available and you can use some of the buzzwords. Apple always likes to say that they want to create, share, and inspire. So the whole concept is that students nowadays do not differentiate between audio and video. They have the software, they use it. They create music with GarageBand, they create video with iMovie, and then they share it online to create an online identity, which is part of a newer trend called personal branding. And in our program, we actually teach all of these concepts where we get kids the notion of personal branding, and I'll explain that a little bit more when I go into the ROP section of this. Once the student content has been created, it's really important that you share via iWeb, and in our music classes, we show them how to use iWeb. A quote that you're welcome to use from me is, for quite some time, traditional music programs have struggled to integrate technology into the curriculum. In a popular music program, it's impossible to separate technology from the curriculum. This came from the Q conference last year where I was presenting with Chris Sampson from USC, and there was quite a bit of interest where teachers are starting to go, you know, it might be time to start something like this. And if you're looking at preserving sections, when you can come to a school district and say, hey, I have an idea to add some sections and it's not going to cost you any money, they kind of listen, and I'll explain to that when we get to the ROP section. So